It is an absolute delight to have all of you join us for this very interesting panel discussion as we look forward to the next 35 minutes of this very, very engaging discussion right here. Thank you.
This is an honor to host for me, and also an easy one because I only get to ask the questions. And the topic is building resilient brands in challenging times. And this is a topic that any marketer would agree to because it always feels like a challenging time for a marketer. So to start off, I think we'll start with COVID, to say that was the most challenging time all these brands went through. So I'll start with you, Ranjita. You lead marketing for a company that's got a lot of people at Wipro. So take us through what happened at COVID. At that challenging time, how did you manage to be resilient?
Sure. Firstly, thank you very much for having me here. Feels very good to be among so many fellow marketers. The company that I'm representing is Wipro. It is an absolutely iconic brand, one that has had a very, very long heritage in the country, and of course has established its place both in India and globally. Today we employ about 230,000 people, and of course we are spread out across the world. To your question about COVID, even before I answer that, one of the points that I do want to talk about is just the industry itself that Wipro represents, the IT industry in India and the IT industry globally. There is, of course, a huge legacy in terms of how these companies, some of these companies have started, right, and from where they have come to today, the play of technology in all of that. And it is not just about technology enablement for the world, but it's also technology enablement for ourselves. So when COVID hit, one of the first, so there were two things that we absolutely had to respond to. One was to ensure that we keep the lights on for all our customers because they have to serve their end users. So across the world, banks, retailers, healthcare providers, all basic services, public services. So a lot of that had to stay on. And for that to happen, the enablement had to happen inside. How empowered and enabled was our own workforce in terms of executing their job as though nothing happened. So the technology enablement, ensuring that when people start to work from home, they have the right technology available with them. A lot of people in the workforce have laptops, those who don't. We actually had devices shipped to their places. And all of this literally happened over a weekend. So it was that rapid. And then, of course, a lot of work which happened for our end consumers. So just keeping all of this in mind, one was to ensure that there is resilience demonstrated in terms of the continuity of the business itself. As a brand, we demonstrate resilience by ensuring that we stand for our people and also ensuring that our end consumers do not get affected. Not just this, the resilience was also shown in terms of what we did for the community. So about more than 1,000 crores was spent and donated for healthcare services. There were over 1 million meals that were provided during the most critical parts of times of COVID to people in need. So it was all in all, and I think standing through that time, and a lot of brands stood through that time, that was probably the greatest demonstration of resilience so far.
That's amazing resilience indeed. But there's one brand which I know suffered the most in pandemic, which was BookMyShow. So Dolly, I'll throw it to you to say, BookMyShow's not just traversed the challenging period, but it's come out shining. So could you throw some light on what happened at BookMyShow during this period and how you came out of it?
Hello. I'm audible, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, see, I mean, yeah, it was the toughest phase, and people stepping out for entertainment was zero, right? So, obviously, a lot of steps were taken, and unfortunately, when you have a zero top line and a zero bottom line, you will have to end up shelving some members from the team, right? It's a very tough call, and it was taken in an utmost uh, in a way that was comforting, in a way that took care of all the employees that were asked to move out. The team strength reduced by about one third. Technologically, we brought in a lot of changes. So this period was used to bring about a lot of changes in the system and to optimize the way we work. Today, we work with that same one third strength, and we are doing better than what we were doing pre-COVID, right? So that just shows that sometimes, you just end up using so much of your bandwidth and the way you work without realizing. It became, a way of stepping back and thinking, zooming out a little bit. We reinvented our business. So for example, we introduced a T-Word business, which was a first time in India, and now we are third largest player apart from Amazon and Apple. So streaming, because it became an important form of entertainment when people were at home, that was another introduction. Lot of entertainment started happening online, like stand-up comedies and performance art shows started happening online. So that was another addition to what happened, right? And this is honestly not the first time that BookMyShow has seen a crisis. It's been 25 years of BookMyShow, so we've seen a lot of highs and lows. Started with an era when ticketing was the only business which was linked to movies, and post-pandemic, people came back with a seismic change in the way they consume entertainment, if I can put it that way. A lot of requirements, a plethora of choices that they have. So we also evolved as a brand where now if you open BookMyShow as an app, we ensure that we provide all forms of experiences to all age groups. So you will see like contemporary forms of entertainment, like say a flea market or a food festival, or say a Peppa Pig for a kid show, or say a Van Gogh 360-degree experience. And it's not just about movies or musics or plays anymore. So it's it was the goal of saying, let's stay true to our ethos that we are here to help a consumer find their form of leisure anywhere in the country at one click. So that was the thought.
That's an amazing story, actually, because only during these challenging times do we realize what we're capable of. And even take Twitter for that matter. People were so almost abusive of the manpower reduction. But the platform seems to be working just fine. And that's something you discover only when you take such hard calls. But I'll now turn to some happier times where I'll put the question to both of you, because you were the two brands which did really well during the pandemic. So Chandan on Zomato then, and Arpan on Ajio. Your brands benefited significantly during these challenging times, but as a marketer, I know even that could have been challenging. So how did you guys handle it?
Okay, thanks. Firstly, thanks for inviting me to this platform. A small ad break. Ajio sale is going on. You all are looking dashing. Please feel free time tonight to buy. Zepto also has USP and other fashion brands right now. Please buy from there as well. Cool. So before I start, I think how do we define uncertain times, be it political, social, or economic, right? Ajio, I won't say I was there in Ajio when that happened, but I am in Ajio because of that. Thanks to COVID, Ajio grew almost at a CAGR of 100% year on year for the last 4 years, almost half the size of the incumbent, the biggest player in the market right now. Interesting times during COVID. Folks moved from black shoes to sneakers, suits to athleisure, because folks started caring more about their well-being. They wanted more time for themselves. They wanted to spend more time with their family. So during such times, we, not just in Ajio, right? I have previously worked in real estate as well, and we have seen folks tend to buy bigger homes because they are working from home. They prefer a study table. They prefer a balcony, a bigger balcony, even in Bombay. So very interesting times. If I look at the 4 Ps to start with, you have to first start with pricing, making it more affordable, because there are different dimensions in within the customers. One being folks who completely stop purchasing, right? They're extremely cautious. Secondly, people who are they are spending, but more cautiously. For them, you have to have more EMI, you have to have more affordability in place. Third is folks who are absolutely fine, they're well off, and they love spending. And fourth, which is more psychographic in nature, where they are, they just live by the day, right? For each set of people, the first is what are the different elements you have. So starting with pricing, you have to be extremely affordable. You can't get into longer commitment when you are having uncertain times. Second is product. In terms of product, you need to give them that assurance that the product will stay. Just to quote certain numbers, during COVID, during recession, financial recession of 2009-10, Tata Motors became again the biggest player in the CV category because people started moving more towards Tata Motors, given the trust you have in CVs, right? For high involvement product like a truck, you can't make a mistake. Same for Maruti as well, their market share grew. So similar to real estate, you will see tier one brands because of radar and otherwise growing during such times. Similar for Ajio, because people could not go outside. So we grew super fast during that phase. Third being the promotion or advertisement part of it. How do you communicate? You need to be more emotionally, you need to connect emotionally more with the user because such times people are going through tough times, right? I mean, during COVID, we know what has happened. So you need to be more emotional. You need to connect with, understand their life, the day of a life of consumer, where all they are going more to the gym. They are not going to office. So once you understand the consumer really well, and we tried doing that as well, I think you will come out great after COVID, like we did.
Perfect. And we can meet you backstage for some coupons after this?
Absolutely.
Chandan, Zomato. I know I contributed a lot to your revenue during that time.
So in fact, just when COVID hit, I was the helm of Zomato Feeding India, the NGO for Zomato, right? And we conducted, and there were 2 days when we did not know what to do. And what came to help was the purpose we had. Better food for more people has always been purpose of Zomato. And we conducted the biggest food drive this country ever saw during that time. We raised some 35, 40 crores during that time in about 20 days and conducted a food drive across 120, 130 cities of the country. And right after that, of course, our food delivery business was taking a hit. So at that point in time, I moved to brand role at Zomato. And what interesting was that what we did during that time, we went again back to purpose. And purpose is like, you know, जब हमें life में tension होती है तो हम माँ को call करते हैं ना कि, and our माँ is like that first principle thinker कि बता क्या problem हो गया, solve करते हैं. And then so very similarly, when you go back to purpose, you always find those answers if you apply the first principle. Zomato at that point of time did max safety. Max safety was, 8-step process when you're ordering food from a restaurant. These 8 processes are taken care of. Of course, the competition, Swiggy in this case, also benefited from it because we kind of laid down the SOPs for the restaurants. But because we couldn't be sitting at home and not solving it for the industry. So we solved it and competition also benefited from it. That max safety gave us so much mind metrics on safety. See, the food was coming from the same restaurant. Either you order from Swiggy or Zomato. But when we did our brand health track, we realized that people considered Zomato food safer than Swiggy food. But the food was coming from the same restaurant. So it helped us more, it helped the competition and revived the industry. So when wave 2 came, everyone by then had realized that ordering food on food delivery platforms is safe. In fact, we did a couple of campaigns during time, food delivery is safe. Like one campaign that we did was, food delivery is safe. 6 months after that, wave 2 hit, and the volumes were through the roof. Of course, the country was going through terrible times, and we were out there ensuring that our riders, delivery partners are also safe, and delivering to the needs of the country. Interestingly, during this time only, a new company was being born, where I am right now. Again, the purpose started with solving a customer problem. So I've worked in a company which reinvented because of a purpose in an uncertain time to now a company that built from a purpose in an uncertain time.
That's a brilliant point, actually. So when I'll put this question to Sarina here. When Arpan spoke about it, he said it's about the people having the brand experience, people wanting more. But what happens at a place like Oberoi Realty? Because you already play in the premium segment. What was the behavior there, Sarina?
So Sharon, as a CMO, I can clearly divide my career into pre-COVID and post-COVID. Like my colleagues here have spoken about brands that represented or produced products for consumers. I'm going to talk very differently. As a CMO, you are also responsible for employer branding.
Right.
And I think COVID times were a test of these brands as a business and as an employer.
Absolutely.
I come from two industries. I worked in two industries, pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I was with the hospitality industry. Post-COVID, I joined. Both were going through very difficult times, very trying times, like you all know. And it was a test of times as an employer, what your vision, your mission, your values that you stand for. And the hospitality industry, the Indian brands stood the test of time and stood by their values. And the Taj, the Leelas, and the Oberois did not sack even one employee in comparison to the multinational brands. Now that shows the values that a brand as a business stands for. The real estate industry was going through a very difficult time because obviously the construction and the labor was affected. And you have people who bought homes. Like Vikas says, when my customer buys a home, he's writing the biggest check of his life. And hence we have to be very prudent how we spend that money. COVID actually tested the real estate industry at that time, and there were many brands that fell off. And your credibility counted at that time because your customer has placed his trust in your brand. He expects you to deliver that promise. And I think that was the biggest challenge for the real estate industry. Things turned around. God is good. I think people were frustrated living in their homes for all those months and they wanted to travel again and, live in hotels and travel all around the world and within the country. And I think our domestic business, the hotel business has done very well, exponentially well. Where the real estate industry was concerned, people wanted bigger homes. Suddenly people want to own homes. They didn't want to rent homes and be in that unstable situation. So both industries picked up post-COVID. And honestly, it was the credibility and the strength and the financial strength of a particular brand that stood the test of times. So it was the world's most disastrous time, but strong brands with great credibility, prudent brands, stood the test of this time.
It's amazing that all the three of you mentioned that during the tough times, when you were even willing to sacrifice for the good of your customers, the larger brands always won through, which is actually a very, a purpose-driven, very emotional statement for all marketers to take home. I think it's very valid, but let me push beyond COVID a little. Not all behavior, like Sarina said, continued post-COVID, right? So, especially in the e-commerce front. There was a significant shift in the way people behave. In fact, for Zepto, people were expected to stop that behavior. So what changed? Why did one continue? And I'm sure there was a few changes in how people shop for clothing also, right, Arpan?
Yeah. So again, when I said a company was being born out of a purpose, and from day one, the mission was to build for the customer. While everyone said that nobody needed 10-minute delivery, but our numbers were always showing something different. uh, High retention across cohorts. Uh, Everyone said, "Do you really need this in 10 minutes?" The customers, the data said, "Yes, we need it in 10 minutes." In fact, like yesterday, we launched USPA on Zepto, an apparel brand. And on my LinkedIn, there's a comment that says, "Does anyone need a t shirt delivered in 10 minutes? Is someone robbing you of a t shirt in the middle of the day?" But I'm sure we all have come across a point in our lives when we wanted that t-shirt. Of course, it won't happen very often. But with the consumer base that we have, we'll have few cases every day. And we have to solve for the customer. Yes, of course, we will add more brands. How many USP t-shirts would sell in a day, that needs to be seen. Right. But there are going to be so many t-shirts to pick from. Trousers. One quick example. Shadi season is coming. You will need all kind of shadi, and now Navratra is coming. There's so much, and we have all, our assortment is going to take care of it. So look at data. Your customer tells you everything. There will always be naysayers. But what it started with the grocery. Of course, people could not go out for groceries. But now they wanted more. They had tasted the 10-minute delivery. The experience of something that you want to get in 10 minutes is unparalleled. You can't get away from it. You need it. Yeah.
Arpan, to you, how has the apparel buying online changed post-COVID? You did mention there was a change.
Post-COVID, obviously, there was a lot of change, but since yesterday, they started selling USPA. So I can see huge change happening in the quick commerce space for fashion. Not just USPA brands like, not just Zepto, brands like New Me. I read recently Slick, a brand got funded 30 million for, I think, 3 hours or 90 minutes delivery. So a lot is happening in the fashion space, but it depends, can all the brands acquire a critical mass or not in fashion? Is it that important for them to, as Chandan was mentioning, right? Interestingly for us, after 4 years after COVID, things stayed the same and we grew at the same rate because convenience is extremely sticky, right? And if you look at e-commerce, fashion, it's not just convenience, it's price as well. Convenience in terms of getting it delivered to your home, you can return it multiple number of times. You get a great collection of products at the same place, unlike going to a mall, walking through all places, you see everything, right? And searches have improved so much. Image search, you exactly know where to find that specific product. So we are also building with every single passing day on customer insights and inputs on how to improve the traction and improve the stickiness of our platform. We have seen great improvements in terms of premiumization of the platform, right? Earlier, a lot of folks used to think twice before buying anything premium from e-commerce with the fear of getting counterfeits. That has been solved because we directly source from, and obviously after a period of time, it can be solved just by claiming it. You have to deliver the right things to the customer over a period of time. Secondly, the return was a big challenge. Customers, there are a lot of players who used to block customers if the return rate was too high, right? Now we have to be slightly more flexible with them and acquire more and more users on the platform. So from that POV, the market is evolving, we're also evolving with the market, and hopefully very soon we'll also start 10-minute deliveries.
Challenge accepted by Chandan. So, while we're talking about challenging times, now I move to another challenging time, which is, we've got 5 minutes left, so I'll put this question to all of you with 1 minute to answer. With each of the industries, one thing that marketers struggle with today is about figuring out your long term with the short term. Because short term is highly measurable, but like all of you said, it is the brand that is built for the long term that survives in such challenging times. So how does a marketer, what would your advice be to our audience here to say, how do you balance long term with short term? I'll start with you, Ranjita.
Sure. So again, when I'm talking about the IT industry, the disruption that is happening today in several ways, it's not just the technology arena that's getting disrupted, it's also the industry all around us. I mean, with 10-minute deliveries and things like that. So all of course, technology is behind all of that. So to make all that happen, and in the short term, of course, investments, partnerships, collaborations, all of that need to happen. And the most important thing is to understand that consumer insight to which we would ensure that the right technology is in place to supply what the consumer is thinking about or the consumer wants, even in terms of experience. And then, of course, the most talked about thing, AI-led innovation. And that is really something which is a game changer today in the market. So if I were to talk about the short term, from the perspective of rapidly understanding where trends are moving, how technology can play a role in it, not play catch up, but lead that trend wherever it can. And all of it in the long term literally has to go towards, it has to go towards purpose. So what we talk about at Wipro is profit with purpose. So profit from a short-term point of view, but the vision is a certain purpose that we live by, and I think that is non-negotiable.
Got it.
I actually get nightmares on this because every single it's a fight between short term and long term when you have a restricted or a fixed budget. But my personal belief is that it depends on the category you are in, and it's very subjective, to be honest. It depends on the category and the company life cycle. I'll cite Ajio's example. We have decent awareness in the market. So for us in a category where e-commerce, fashion, there's no loyalty in the category, to be honest. Hardly any loyalty. People move from a Myntra to a Ajio to a Flipkart to a Amazon. So price plays a very, very important role. And how do you communicate the price? And performance marketing plays a very heavy role for us. When I was talking to someone from the head of growth from Zepto a few days back, I realized they hardly spend on performance marketing because the stickiness is so high. You need 10-minute orders or groceries every single day. Swiggy, Zomato, they spend very little amount on performance marketing. For a category like us, where the frequency of purchase is not regular for fashion, you have to keep reaching out to them, keep reminding that you have added this to the cart. So we are more, because we want to achieve numbers, we have to. So we are more focused on short term. If the awareness levels were not that high, maybe I would have spent more on brand building. So it depends on the category, it depends on the life cycle of the company.
It's a very nuanced answer, yeah.
Agree with Arpan. In fact, we're a 3-year-old company. For us, short term is a month, long term is a year. Invest in customer, find the needs. One thing that I follow is, if I have to talk about long term, which is a year for me, how can I make the customer talk about me? How can I get earned media? And if I have to spend money to somehow delight my customer to get that earned media, that is more valuable than an ATL, BTL campaign. So finding ways for the customer to talk about me.
Beautiful.
Give a quick example is, we normally think hoardings work well. Hoardings, in my sense, don't work well. But if I can put something on the hoarding that can be clicked and put on social media. We recently did a hoarding campaign in Nashik. Nashik population is 22 lakhs. That somebody, and it's not paid, somebody clicked a video of all the hoardings, the copies on the hoarding. That has, in 2 days, done 15 lakh views.
Wow.
Of course, I'm not saying it's all views coming from Nashik. Yeah. But that campaign has been paid for.
Brilliant. Sarina, with real estate, what's the short term and long term? I think we have a few seconds before I wind this up.
So, Sharan, I am a evangelist of brand marketing because I've always worked in the luxury segment, and I've worked for products where you bring the customer to you. We can't take our product to the customer. I can't take a hotel to a customer. I can't take my home or real estate to a customer. And brand marketing is very arduous, painstaking, takes a lot of time, but I think there's a good long-term gain in that. I'll give you two examples. One is a current one and one is us. So we have a prime project in Oberoi Garden City in Goregaon, and we launched our third tower, Elysian Tower, in February. We had about 80 customers who were ready to buy the apartments immediately, and Vikas said, okay, call up the 80 guys and ask them to come and book the apartments. No marketing, no digital marketing, no performance marketing, no social media, nothing. Just call the 80 people, let them buy their homes, that's it. We call the 80 people, you can come tomorrow morning, 9:30, doors open, come book your apartment. We had long queues the night before.
Wow.
From 8 p.m. onwards. We had domestic servants or people who are representing brokers standing in the queue so that they can be the first ones to buy the apartment. Sorry. So within 6 hours, we had clocked in 800 crores, sold 100 apartments, and 800 crores booked apartments.
Awesome.
That was because of the amount of brand marketing we had done over a period of time. Another example, just this week, a band called Coldplay. Okay, 1996, the band was started, London. Most of the band members are in their late 40s. What TG would this band appeal to? Obviously, us, my age, people are in their 40s, 50s. But in 30 minutes, I mean, you had 1.3 crore people wanting to book tickets. And in 30 minutes, 1.5 lakh tickets were sold out. Why? Because there's a brand promise, because they're relevant, and they're constantly innovating themselves. So that's the power of a brand when you do brand marketing.
Brilliant. And I'll close with a different question to Dolly because you brought it up. Are we getting any Coldplay tickets today? But
Is that the question you want to end with?
All the people in the panel are getting some, right?
of course. So, but on a serious note, very quick, we're out of time. So, to say, I know the ticket fiasco was not because of BookMyShow, and you'd even put out a statement to that effect. But for the consumer who's buying the ticket, you just find the person you go to first, and therefore, emotionally, they end up blaming a brand which they're so connected with. How do you handle that? And very quickly, how can anybody handle that?
So, yes, I mean, you are right, emotionally, and that's how Indians are in general. When you meet them face to face, they don't tell you bad things. When you are online, they don't tell you good things. So, unfortunately, that's the consumer behavior. But having said that, I think in India, in general, there is a huge demand for global, international quality of entertainment. And when brands like BookMyShow curate and bring those experiences to you, people love you as a brand, right? Yes, nobody, there is enough data to tell us that you will anticipate a crowd like this. And there are enough systems and processes which are put in place to ensure that it's clean, it's audited, it's not sold offline, it's not sold to resellers. No consumer is allowed to book more than 4 tickets across all shows. And constant monitoring of ensuring that happens, right? And as a brand, it's important for us because, yes, BookMyShow is a brand, and like you rightly said, Coldplay as a band itself is a brand, right? So we are also answerable globally on that, and enough and more actions are taken in terms of maintaining transparency of information. So right from the day announcement is made, to the way layouts are explained, to the way the queuing process is explained, we have ensured that every SOP is released, and we have seen consumers really loving it. So I can tell you there have been more than 5 lakh shares of the SOPs that have been made, right? And that itself shows that people love this level of transparency. There has been a lot of things done on inclusivity. So could we have priced the ticket at 2x? We could have, right? And could we have priced it at 3x? Indeed, we could have priced it at 3x also. But the thought here was that every legitimate fan should have an opportunity to buy, and hence the price is what it is. Now, unfortunately, it really hurts to see that, it's illegal, but there are people out there selling it in the market, and, ticket scalping is becoming so common. And we are taking the right measures with the help of local police to resolve this and being as transparent as possible to our consumers. So yes, while we've gotten some hate comments, I would say for every one hate comment, we've got 6 likes as well on the same post, which means that there are enough people who understand that this is not a failure on part of BookMyShow. But of course, your probability of getting tickets was about 1%. So, I mean, that's where it is.
Awesome, lovely answer, and sad to know we're not getting any tickets right now. But lovely talking to all of you. Thank you so much for the time. I know we've run over time, but thanks a lot.